a little bit earlier I was talking to Josh about the filler on the 69 Dodge Charger. I just want to take a minute or two to dispel a terrible myth that's out there, and that is the word bondo. So bondo is bad. We take a picture of this, we put it on Facebook. I was teasing him about that, and you're going to have 100 keyboard commandos coming in and talking about how bondo is butchering the car. First of all, bondo is a trade name. That's the actual name, a proper name of the plastic filler used many years ago and still probably made today. What we put on the car is a plastic filler, all right? Just imagine it's a really, really thick primer, okay? If it's used right, in this case, this is right. How we do it at Graveyard Carz is right. How many shops do it in the clicking world is right. It got its bad name from doing it wrong. The right way, start with fresh bare metal, grind it down to the metal, put an epoxy sealer. We use DP90. It's a catalyzed epoxy sealer. Put your filler over the top of it. Don't have your filler too thick. But in this particular case, if you look, you can see the metal poking through in areas. That's how thin it is. But that slim, slick, non-millage coat is actually making this panel really, really flat. Over the top of that, we're going to put a catalyzed urethane primer. Now that filler, that plastic filler, some people call it bondo, we use a 3M product. That filler is going to be sandwiched between two catalyzed products. Moisture will never cause it to swell, never cause it to shrink, never cause it to rust, never cause it to do anything. So filler, when done right, is perfectly fine. The factory used filler. That's the fact. Even today, the factory uses filler because it's a perfectly good product if it's done right. I want to take you out back and show you what happens when you don't use it right. When you butcher a car, like so many times people are accused of doing. This is going to be a really educational moment for you to be able to see how not to use plastic filler. These Chargers are the ones that we drug in from Seattle a while back, or close to Seattle. Been sitting in that field forever and ever. This car goes out, the 68 Charger, probably original 318 car, gets crashed into a pole, this fender's caved in. The body man, or whatever he was, used car recon guy, drills these holes in the fender. That's what you see these right here. They put a slide hammer in there, and they work that slide hammer and they pull that dent out. They get it as far as they think they can get it, and then they just smear mud over it. Bondo, filler, plastic. And this is what you end up with. This is how filler got a bad rap, is because I don't want any bondo in my car. Well, it's plastic filler, but okay, you don't want me in your car. Why? Because it cracks out. It does crack out if you don't do it right. If you put it on too thick and you don't prep the surface right, if you have holes underneath it, the water can get through the back side. This is a great example. So here we are 30 years later. Give me an example. There's a chunk of the filler. If you look at the back side of it, you see it's rusty. This was ready to let go too. This is decayed faster than the areas where it still had decent adhesion to the metal. But this was the rust that was starting to form that was causing this filler to come off. That's what the fender looked like when the body man was done straightening it out. This should have never had filler put over the top of it. One, the fender should have either been replaced, probably would have been the best thing, or at least repaired right. But at the very least, one thing a body man could have done if they would have took the time was to cut this section off, put it upside down on like a flat area where you could beat the back side of it out, shape it right, put it back on and weld it up. But instead, they kind of got it roughed out and they just smeared plastic filler over it. Over these holes. Imagine these holes are exposed to the elements on the back side. Every time it rains, water goes up. Well, this stuff absorbs. It's just plastic. It'll absorb water, and when it does, it swells. Then it begins to form rust on the bottom of it, and then at the end of it all, that's what you have. This is a textbook example exactly why filler has a bad name. You look at our Charger in there, it's clean, it's done right. It was bare metal to start with. It was shiny bare metal with a good sanding and a good bite to it. Then it got epoxy, then it got filler, and then it gets urethane over the top of that. It's perfect, it's sealed right, and it'll last forever. That's